Welcome back to my channel. This week we are reviewing episode 7 of the Gilded Age. This was a good one. There's so much to talk about. Grab yourself a cup of tea or a cocktail if you prefer, and let's talk about it. Now, what made Ward think that he could write a book disclosing all of the dirty little secrets of these high society women, many of which he has probably been told in confidence? It's wild to me to think that he could do this and that there would be no backlash. But as we see later, it speaks to his perception of where he ranks in society and how much power he wields, that this would be a minor offense. And it didn't take long for him to F around and find out.
Ward McAllister.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have your name.
What?
Mrs. Astor checked the list of those invited, and I'm afraid you're not on it.
Mrs. Astor has barred me from the event?
She sure did. And again, I don't know why he's surprised. We know how good Lena is at icing people out, but he thought that those rules did not apply to him. If we know one thing about Mrs. Astor, she don't play when it comes to her reputation. She don't play when it comes to society and the 400. So why Ward would do that to her and think he could giggle his way out of it is beyond me.
We have unfinished business, you and I.
I doubt that. I would say our business is entirely finished.
All the things we have done together. Don't I deserve more from you than this?
Don't I deserve more than to be made a fool in front of the entire city? You knew what you were doing, and now you must pay.
You can't throw me out of society. I am society. They're not your 400, they're my 400. That mixture of minor birth and major money, that was my creation.
But let's not forget how hard I tried to smooth your Savannah ways.
When we met, you were just a sad rich lady whose husband preferred the showgirls on his yacht to spending any time with you.
It was right at this moment, with that look on his face, that he realized he done messed
Mrs.
up.
Astor.
Goodbye, Mr. McAllister.
Goodbye, Mrs. Astor.
Do y'all think that he went too far? That was a really, really low blow. Now, granted, she took a jab at him, making it seem like he was some unpolished southern bumpkin and she had to smooth him out to have him introduced into New York society. But to take a shot at her marriage, and I imagine that that's her sore spot, or her family in general, which is why she's so upset about this. I think that Lena is mature enough to realize that where she sits in society, people are going to talk about her and that her life will be fodder for gossip. However, it's now about her daughter, and that hits way too close to home. Number one, because it's her daughter, and number two, because where she ranks in society, her image is everything to her. I think she's also hurt because she truly considered Ward to be her friend. Like he said, all the things we've done together. Those two have been running New York for a very long time. And he's probably her best friend, especially since, her husband is nowhere to be found. He's out there fool-la-la with all of his mistresses. This is her dude. And he betrayed her. And I don't know that she can forgive him if she even wanted to, because she's already made a statement to the rest of the ladies that we're going to exile him from high society. And because it's also part of what he mentioned in the book has to do with her daughter, he would feel like a hypocrite at this point if she was to allow him back in. So for the sake of appearances, it's almost as if her back is against the wall and she has no choice. And you could see that look in her face at the end when she rang the bell and she told her butler to escort him out. That was a genuine hurt in her face for both of them. Even when he said goodbye, I think he realized at that moment that this is irreparable and that there was no going back, and that it was his fault. And that was the end of a friendship. Both of them are hurt. You could see the looks on their face. So what do y'all think? I know Mrs. Astor is not a very sympathetic character. She has done a lot of shady things. She's a hypocrite, right? The fact that she's trying to ice out Aurora Fane, recognizing that her daughter has a similar issue. And even if her daughter was not getting divorced and she was not a factor, icing this lady out simply because her husband is divorcing her is wrong. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be sympathetic towards somebody when they've been a whole bitch to everybody else. But I can see two things can be true at the same time. She is a bitch, but she's also a human being. She also has feelings, and mourning the loss of her friendship with Ward. Do y'all feel bad for her? So recognizing that trying to reason with Lena is a lost cause, he goes to Bertha. Now, he and Bertha have their own special kind of friendship, and you remember he's the one who helped her enter into society, gave her all tips and tricks to the trade, and in some ways jeopardized some of his friendship with Lena in order to help Bertha. But that's all smoothed out, obviously. He goes to Bertha and he's like, hey, listen, you need to help me. Like, you need to be the one to reintroduce me to society. Now you have the power, right? You got the juice. I need you to leverage said juice and get me back into the room. But Bertha says no.
I can't. I haven't the power. And nothing is more perilous than to overestimate your own power.
Bertha said, I got my own problems. You know what's going on up in this palace right now? My husband's not fooling with me. My son hates me. My daughter is thousands of miles away. I can't add nothing else to my plate right now. I can't. I don't have the energy or the power to start battling with Miss Astor again. You remember what I went through in season 1 and 2? I am so sorry. I cannot do this for you. And I am sure that that hurt her because he was such a help to her when she was trying to get her foot in the door. But she can't do it. Not today. And he understands. I do like the fact that she was honest with him up front and told him I'm not going to do it. And the reason why. And she comes to a realization that when you overstep your power, sometimes this thing comes and slaps you back in the face. And that's what she's dealing with right now. They're both dealing with it right now, right? They both overstepped at certain points, and now they are dealing with the repercussions of that. So it's a lesson learned for everybody. So Larry returns from Morenci. He's all hyped and excited because he found out about the copper. He knows his daddy's going to be proud of him and that he's essentially saved the Russell estate. Well, he doesn't know that part, but he's done a great thing. And this is cause for celebration. He has his fiance at home. Larry comes home thinking he's about to live his best life. And then he gets this letter from old girl. And of course, he's distressed. He runs across the street to talk to her. Marian, being the conflict avoidant woman that she is, she sends Aunt Ada to talk to him and try to give him the ring back. I mean, dude, do better. Do better, Marian. Number one, because it's the right thing to do. Number two, he lives across the street. I mean, you're going to run into him. So would you not think that the best thing to do is to tell him face to face? Now, of course, he's going to push back and, he's going to try to make his case. And if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it. He can't force you to stay engaged. But you can't avoid this. You have to tell him. Otherwise, every time you see this man, he's going to try to talk to you and he's going to be pleading his case. And isn't that going to be awkward? Would you rather just peel the Band-Aid off, tell this man that you don't want to be married to him no more, tell him the reason why, and keep it pumping? But Marian lacks those critical thinking skills, so she sends her aunt to do it. And Ada's not down for this because Ada's a grown woman. She knows the way of the world. She has her own issues, and she recognizes that Marian is overreacting about this, and then she tries to convince her to do better.
I feel as if I have nothing to hold fast to. Every single man in my life has failed me.
I'd be better off as a spinster. That way I won't get hurt.
You have no idea what you're talking about. But there is a profound loneliness in the life of a spinster. This is nothing you want, I can assure you.
That's right, Ada. Let her know. Let her know. Your life is a cautionary tale. I mean, you found your happiness with Luke. Unfortunately, it was short-lived because the man died, but you don't want this life. Ada's let her know you do not want this life. Tell me, sis, I'm telling you what I know, not what I think. I'm telling you what I know. And I'm glad that she put it to her that way. Not that it really mattered because Marian is stuck on stupid. I want to stop for a minute and address Cynthia Nixon's acting skills. She's amazing. She really is. She does not get enough credit. While this character is completely different than Miranda from Sex and the City, you can see the same style of acting, which makes sense because I think most good actors have a style about them that is consistent regardless of the character they're playing. But the moment when Marian says the spinster word, you could see how that hit her. And when she was telling her, you don't want this life, and her eyes started darting back and forth, and she was trying not to cry, that was so powerful. And I've seen her, Miranda, do that. There's moments where you can tell Miranda, who's tough, and if you guys don't know, you don't watch Sex and the City, Miranda's had a very controlled, stoic, no nonsense personality, but she had her vulnerable moments, and when she did, she would struggle not to cry, and you can see her eyes kind of moving around in her head, and she would look away. And I just saw that now in this actress. It's just so good. It's really nuanced, and it speaks to the pain that she still feels about what her life has been. And granted, she was happy that she found Luke, but you can sense all of the pain of her being a spinster for all those years is starting to bubble to the surface as she's speaking to Marian. So that was very touching, and that's what stood out to me in this scene more than anything else. But of course, none of this lands with Marian, because when she finally does speak to Larry, she goes into victim mode and she doesn't want to hear anything he has to say. He admits that he lied, he's sorry, but she don't want to hear it. And I know I'm giving Marian a hard time. However, I think a lot of my frustration with her is that sometimes I don't think she realizes how fortunate she is. She's mentioned it. And I think in the conversation she had with Ada, she said that if it wasn't for them, she doesn't know where she would be. Yeah, it's true. Your father did do you dirty. Absolutely. However, you have two rich aunts who took you in, entered you into high society, put you in a position where you can meet somebody like Larry, and you could have the fairy tale life. You could truly have a rags to riches story if you would just lean into it and stop being such a tight ass.
But that's it. Nothing happened.
You're making a fool of me now. I know what goes on at those places. I'm a lady, but I'm not an idiot.
I only had a drink. You have to believe me.
Why? When you've already lied. You told me you were going to Delmonico's.
Yes.
It wasn't until this conversation that she has with Jack where it finally sets in that maybe she's being too harsh on Larry. Jack tells her nothing happened. Larry didn't fool around with any of them. We had a drink and then we both came home. I wish that he had said that to her sooner, but given the dynamics, I could understand why he was hesitant to do so. In that setting, he's a servant. She's one of the ladies of the house. It would have seemed like he was overstepping by going into detail. And he probably had a moment to go back to his room, think about it a little bit, and realize that, maybe I should have been more detailed about what actually happened. And now that the dynamics are different because he is out of the house and he's no longer a servant and they're out there house hunting, this was a good opportunity for him to check on her, see how she's doing, and to let her know that, in fact, nothing happened and that Larry is, in fact, innocent. And it seems like for the first time it lands with her that, hey, maybe Larry was telling the truth. Sidebar, I'm so happy for Jack. His whole demeanor is different. The way he's walking around the house and the conversation he has with Marian, and then when he tells the realtor that he'll take it, it's like you're just watching him grow up in real time. And I feel like a proud mom. I don't know that boy, but I feel like a proud mom in a moment.
And what about you? And Mr. Larry? It wasn't an appropriate place, but nothing untoward happened there.
How do you know?
Because he was with me the whole time. We had a drink with his friends, and then we went back to 61st Street together. He's quite innocent, I promise.
Is it just me, or can you tell the small, subtle differences in his character? His posture, he seems like he's standing taller. His voice, I love this for him. I'm so happy for Jack, and I hope that we see more of him.
Your father sent a telegram.
What does he say?
His payment will be delayed this month.
Oh,
He also warned of the possibility there may be no payment at all.
I never thought I'd say this, but these two might be my favorite couple. They might be. I like it. They're getting along. They're compatible. It seems like there's a mutual interest. It's growing slowly but surely. I see attraction between the two of them. And we're going to see later that he finally asserting himself with his sister and positioning Gladys to become the lady of the estate. Now, I'll admit, this was rather funny to me, and maybe for the wrong reasons. So Hector gets a note from George letting him know, listen, I'm having financial issues and I may not be able to make next month payment. And just sidebar, I may not be able to pay for this at all. I got a lot of stuff going on right now. Just a heads up. So it's cool that George let him know. At least he didn't play this game of, oh, my payment's going to be late. You know, I put something on it. I'll give you the rest on payday. He didn't do that thing. He just let him know, listen, it ain't looking good. Question is, now what? Now, how does this work? When somebody can't, number one, I'm going to tell you something, and maybe I'm naive to this whole dowry thing. I thought it was just a lump sum payment. I didn't know that they was paying for these chicks on installments, but apparently you do. And if you can't pay, now what happens? Do you send her back? Like, can you just return her? Can you like reverse the transaction? How does that work? But it's just really interesting as you think about this in terms of a relationship, because clearly Hector and Gladys are growing to like and possibly love each other. And if they do, he's not going to want her to leave regardless of the money. But the whole purpose of marrying her was to get the money. And if her father can't pay, you can't go and get another wife who's going to make up for the loss that you have. So now you got the wife and you still don't have the money and you're kind of stuck. Furthermore, George and Bertha have also put their daughter in a position where if they can't pay, now she's over there living in squalor in this huge estate because her father didn't have the money when she could have just stayed home. Now, if George and Bertha lose all their money, you know, either way you slice it, it's going to affect Gladys, but at least she would have been home. Instead, you got her all the way over in England on some poor shit. But Hector is unfazed. He said, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. He's unbothered.
I meant when I said not to worry about your father's money. The money doesn't matter. But you do.
I'm not sure if Gladys really means this, or if all the flattery is genuine, but if not, she's doing a damn good job. Bertha taught her well. She's flattering that man, and she is stroking his ego so hard that look at him. He's just smitten. Smitten.
Will you be going up to London while we're away?
I'm not sure. Why?
Well, you've always enjoyed the hustle and bustle of London, haven't you? I thought you might like to spend a little more time there. I was thinking it might be time you had a house of your own. You can't enjoy fussing over us every minute of every day. You need some time to yourself.
Hector was smooth with that. The way he kicked his sister out, he said, you like London, right? Yeah, why don't you go live there? And Gladys was so impressed with him. She was shocked. I guess they hadn't discussed that before that sit down because she seemed surprised to hear him say it. And again, look at the way he's smiling at her like, I did good, right? You like that? Ooh, Sarah, your fall from grace is coming fast and furious, honey. And I don't feel no ways tired about it. You brought this on yourself. You was doing way too much. Sarah, you played this wrong. You played this wrong. Even if you didn't want her to be there, even if you still wanted to hold control of this, you could have done this better. You could have been nice to Gladys. You could have taken her under your wing. You could pretended like y'all were going to do some kind of a power sharing situation. But no, you wanted to remove her from the picture altogether. You wanted to talk down to her, treat her like she was a child, and now it's coming back to slap you in your face. All you had to do is just bring her on board slowly but surely. Say, you know what, why don't we split the responsibilities? I'll handle this, you handle that. And then when you're ready, you can take that over. And maybe Gladys never would have been ready. And maybe there's stuff Gladys don't even want to do. And Sarah can handle that stuff. But that would have bought her more time. And Gladys is a sweetheart. I don't think she would have had a problem with Sarah being there if Sarah was just kind to her. But now you went so hard in the paint that Bertha had to come out. She had to get you together. And now she done taught her daughter the ways. And Hector is besotted by his new bride. And now you got to go to London. Now you got to pack your stuff and go to London. This didn't have to be. It didn't have to be, Sarah. It didn't have to be.
It turns out Peggy Scott had a child who died of scarlet fever. Are you saying that she had a child out of wedlock? Sad story that asks more questions than it answers. I knew she wasn't right for my William.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I love me some Claire Huxtable. I love me some Felicia Rashad, but I can't with Mrs. Kirkland. She's just too much of a damn busybody. She needs a job. She needs a hobby. She needs a cause. She needs to do something with herself other than meddling in William's business and keeping her grandkids out of the sun. Now, Miss Bernadine done spilled the beans and told her about Peggy's child. Claire Huxtable is so excited to go and share this information. She cannot wait to hightail it down to New York like she's King Jaffe Joffer from Coming to America and tell her son everything that she learned.
Which is why it is so shocking that she didn't tell you. That is not a person who can be trusted, if you ask me.
I didn't ask you. God is still a kind, beautiful, intelligent woman.
Who lied? Who is a tarnished woman with a dead child, God rest his poor soul, and a husband out there somewhere doing Lord knows what?
Is she divorced?
Yo, was it just me or did this man's entire voice change? Up until now, he's been speaking with this refined mid-Atlantic, transatlantic accent that most of them have. But when he asked if she was divorced, that voice went right out the window.
Is she divorced?
So fortunately, Dr. Kirkland has the wherewithal to not just listen to his mother and cast Peggy aside. He is going to talk to her and let her tell her side of the story. He's been very patient and understanding up until now, but I don't know if this is going to fly. Even his reaction was huge. And I don't think it has anything to do with his mother. He's taken aback. And I don't know if it's the fact that it happened or the fact that she didn't tell him or a combination. But I have a feeling this is going to be a problem between the two of them. I don't think he's going to be able to get over it as quickly as he did when he learned about her affair with Mr. Fortune. Sidebar. This is how Marian was supposed to behave. Somebody comes to you and tells you something about somebody you care about. Instead of jumping to conclusions, you say, I need to go talk to them. I need to give them an opportunity to explain this to me. That's what adults do. Are you listening, Marian? That's how adults handle this. They don't just write notes, pass them out, and walk away and act like y'all never had anything to begin with. So last week, we ended with quite the cliffhanger. Maybe it wasn't a cliffhanger because I think it was pretty evident that John Adams had died as a result of the impact from the fruit and vegetable carriage. So by this point, the funeral has occurred and he is now meeting with John Adams' sister. And she reveals to him that she knew her brother was gay and she knew how much her brother cared about Oscar. She tells him that she found a picture of the two of them in his drawer and she gives him, and she also lets him know that John had left something for him in a will. He left a house. Of course, Oscar at first was like, I can't accept it, but she says, he wanted you to have it. He cares about you. That was a nice moment, especially back then when homosexuality was so frowned upon. It's refreshing to see that there were people who knew and accepted it and still loved people beyond it and recognized that it needed to be kept a secret. And I think that this was like a warm hug for Oscar. He needed this. as he explains later to his aunts, the fact that he has to move around as if he didn't love this man and mourn him as if he's just a friend has been very painful and taken a toll on him. So having this moment where he could be honest with John's sister was very touching.
Macabre. How should I be, Mama? I can't be too sad, but I can't be too cheerful. I'm sure you don't want to hear that I miss him. I sat in the back row of his funeral like a stranger who walked in to get out of the rain, when I should have taken my rightful...
And, you know, Agnes doesn't show a lot of emotion, and she's another one, great actress. She played that so well. She played it so well. In that moment, she was a mother. She was a mother to a young child, and she realized, hey, I'm imagining this is the things that she was thinking. How did I miss this? And or, hey, there were signs, and I dismissed them. Next thing is my son is in pain. Then the next thing is, what does this mean for him and our family? What happens if this gets out? What is his life going to look like in the future? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done better? Is my son safe in this world? Am I going to have children? What's going to happen to the legacy? Like, I imagine all of those things were spinning around in her head in that one moment. And this episode was a chef's kiss when it came to acting. Everybody really, they came to work. They came to work, and everybody showed their true acting chops. The three of them, Marian to Ada to Agnes, Oscar, I mean, this was brilliant. This was brilliant right here. This is some Emmy Award winning work right here. So Oscar goes up to his room, and the three of them are just sitting there in silence. Another thing I saw in this scene, and I might be digging a little deep, is that there was like a trifecta of pain. We have Marian there who's hurting about Larry. And then you have Ada who is still mourning the death of her husband and suffering. And now you see Agnes in distress over her son and what does this mean to him. It was just very powerful, very, very powerful moment.
I think I understand much more about you and John Adams.
This was a very touching moment between the cousins. And Marian, again, I know I give her a hard time, but I do think she has a good heart, and she can be empathetic and sympathetic, and I love that she's there for him.
But also, Mr. McAllister's book paints us in a horrible light.
Are you really so oblivious that you cannot see what I am going through? A possible catastrophe that will overwhelm us all unless I can get our finances in order. Unless you have something more important to discuss than Newport balls and idle gossip, I suggest you let me get back to saving our family from ruin.
Don't you hate it when you're stressed out about something and then somebody comes to you with some nonsense? And you're like, dude, don't you see I got a lot going on right here and you hit me with all this ancillary bullshit? That's exactly what George is thinking. Bertha, how many times this man got to scream on you and kick you out the room for you to realize? Come to your husband on some real ish. It appears that the two of them have always had this relationship where they can be honest with each other. What she should have done is come in there and be like, oh, you still mad? I know you're still mad. I went, I fixed it. It's all good. I'm so sorry that I did that again. I know we're in a bad place. I want to fix this. Tell me what I need to do. That would have been so much better. He don't care about no damn gossip. And I don't know if she's really just trying to brush over this and thinks that she can just go back to normal and talk about regular everyday stuff that he's going to forget that he's mad at her. But dude, Bertha should know better. She's much smarter than that. And it's weird to me that she is not picking up on the cues, especially since she knows her husband. Now, granted, maybe he's never been this upset with her before, but the way she's going about it is all wrong.
Your ambition is out of control.
We're both ambitious.
True. But when was the last time you asked any of us what we wanted?
George is so fed up with her ass. And George looked like he could be nasty when he want to be. Just the tone. I never even thought that he had the capacity to talk to her that way, but that just speaks to how disgusted he is with her. And like I said before, she's playing this all wrong. So now your husband mad, Larry's mad at you, accusing you of things you ain't even do. See, that's the problem. When you meddle so much, people assume that you constantly meddling. Now, you had nothing to do with Marian. I will say this though, given some time, she probably would have meddled, but she was distracted. But now you're getting heat for things you didn't even do, and that's because of your reputation. And I'm glad George told her, you are way too ambitious, and you don't ask anybody else what they think. You just go ahead and you do what you want to do, and now it's coming back to bite you.
The deal with the Merricks is done. And so is any further business I might have with you.
What a fool to have missed something like that. You are of no further use to me.
More different. Because from today, you are no longer in any industry, and you're finished in New York.
I won't die away that easily, Mr. Russell.
Is it just me, or is George sexy? That's a sexy man right there. And he's not traditionally handsome. Like, he's got some bug eye thing going on. And I feel like he's one of those men who needs his beard. But the package, the swag, the voice, all of that, the suits, that's a sexy man right there. Bertha, you better get it together. You better get it together. That's all I'll say. But George gets the last laugh. Because of the copper in the mines, he's able to renegotiate the deal. The Merricks are back in. Now Clay and old boy are out. And he embarrasses him. He takes this opportunity to embarrass him in front of Clay's new partner, who then just calls Clay worthless and basically fires him on the spot. And George is like, look at you now. What you going to do now? Look at you. Taunting him, essentially. And at first I thought, you know what, maybe that's too much, because George, you did fire this man without cause. But then I thought about it, I reconsidered and realized it was one thing for Clay to go and work with old boy. The man still has to work. He still want to be in the game. That's fine. Where he went wrong is that he shared George's secrets. And for that, I can understand the vitriol that George has for him. Because if this copper mine thing hadn't panned out, he would be in financial ruins. And that would largely be because of the information that Clay shared. So given that, maybe George has a right to be as pissed as he is. And just when we thought that the Russells had rebounded and all was well with them, we get the final scene. And there's really nothing for me to say. Y'all saw it. Y'all saw it. Totally unexpected. I was taken aback last week when old boy got taken out by the fruit and vegetable cart. I thought that the Gilded Age had went far there. I never thought that we were going to see an assassination attempt. I didn't know that was in their wheelhouse, but clearly it is. I will say I'm a little surprised that they did that at the end of this episode. That would have been a great cliffhanger for the end of season 3, on some Who Shot JR-ish. But I'll take it. I did see the previews for next week, and it looks like he did, in fact, get shot. Because my first thought was maybe his secretary, whomever took the first 2 shots, and then maybe George only got grazed. But from the previews, it looks like he actually got shot in his abdomen. So it's not looking good. I doubt that they'll kill off his character, but I am very excited to see what happens next.
I'll take that.
Well, that's it for this episode, and this is the second to last one. So next week will be the season finale. That went by so fast. I have to say this has been the best season so far, which is why I feel like I haven't got enough. And there's a lot of stuff to cover next week. So I am waiting anxiously to see what happens to all of our favorite characters, especially George. And let me know what you thought about this episode. Please do not forget to comment, to like, to subscribe, to share, do all of that stuff. And you will get a notification when I post next week's episode. I will talk to y'all soon.